Hello, this is News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Jennifer Okolo. Many thanks for joining us. Now, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention has activated the National Multi-Sectorial Emergency Operations Center for Lassa fever to coordinate and strengthen ongoing response activities in the country. It disclosed that the number of Lassa fever confirmed cases has risen to 244 with 37 deaths. The Lassa Fever Emergency Operations Center has activated following the outcome of a risk assessment that placed Nigeria at a very high risk of increased Lassa fever transmission. The assessment showed an unprecedented upward trend in the number of confirmed cases being reported compared to previous years, an increased number of states reporting cases in comparison to previous years, and an increased risk of healthcare worker infections and deaths due to Lassa fever infection. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has unveiled the Dala Inland Dry Port in Dala local government area of Kano State. The president arrived Kano in company with some of his cabinet members. President Muhammadu Buhari was received by the state governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, the Minister of Transportation, Jaji Sambo, and the Managing Director of the Dala Inland Dry Port, Ahmed Rabiu. Other dignitaries at the event included the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Shippers Council, Emmanuel Jime, the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Transportation, Magdalene Ajani, and the former Executive Secretary NSC, Hassan Bello. Well, moving on, the Nigerian government is in support of any action, including a visa ban to be imposed on any Nigerian who threatens the 2023 elections by the United States of America. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, made the position of the government known at a press conference in Abuja. The minister says whatever action is taken against anyone who undermines this democracy that has been watered by the blood of many of our patriots is right and justified. He added that the government is proud to say that no administration since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999 has shown more fidelity to the democratic process than the current administration, and no president since 1999 has been as ambiguous as President Muhammadu Buhari in word and in deed with regards to leaving office after the constitutionally stipulated 2 terms. Also, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, has assured that Abuja Light Rail resume service before the end of his administration in May. Bello gave the assurance when he featured in the 20th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration's scorecard series organized by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture in Abuja. The minister disclosed that about 12 stations had been completed, and about 5 of them, the roads are still under construction. The event was attended by the FCT Minister of State, Dr. Ramatu Aliyu, the Permanent Secretary FCTA, Olushade Adeshola, all mandate secretaries of FCTA, and the 6 area councils chairman. Now, the Nigerian Railway Corporation says the suspended Abuja-Kaduna train operation will resume on Tuesday. The service along the corridor was suspended on Friday after a train derailed at the Kubwa station in Abuja. The corporation announced the resumption in a statement signed by the Director of Operations, Niyi Ali. Contrary to its initial trip schedule, where 2 trains depart Abuja and Kaduna daily, the corporation has adjusted the number of trips for Wednesdays to 1 from each end. The corporation said it regrets any inconveniences passengers may have experienced as a result of the temporary suspension of the service. We'll be going on a quick break. When we return, News Plus continue. Do stay tuned.
Two souls came together. Two souls came together. They're not now.
Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm at the Envoy Hotel, Diplomatic Drive 305, here for a business weekend. It's been an amazing stay. Conference hall and business facilities here are stylish and innovative. The Envoy Hotel is luxury, esoteric, opulence, for ultimate comfort.
Most discerning travelers, we are more than just a place to stay. We are an icon of comfort, style, and thoughtful luxury. We are Envoy Hotel.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Plus. Now, moving on, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Bajabamila, has declared that Nigeria is ready for the upcoming 2023 general election, despite rumors from some quarters that there will be likely postponement due to insecurity in the country. The Speaker gave the assurance when he received a delegation of the International European Union Election Observers Mission, who paid him a courtesy call in his office. He, however, considered that there was some delays in the collection of permanent voter cards, but assured the visiting delegation that the Independent National Electoral Commission is working assiduously to ensure that the issues are resolved.
I think we're prepared for it. I think those who are saddled with the responsibility of making sure that we conduct free, fair elections have done what they need to do. And starting from Mr. President to the National Assembly to the INEC officials. I want to believe that the buck now has to be passed on to the people themselves, who have to be vigilant and to make sure that their votes count.
On his part, the leader of the delegation, Barry Andrews, commended the Speaker on the role he played in guiding the electoral reforms processes that culminated in the passage of the 2022 Electoral Reforms Act.
We
with your cooperation, and we're delighted to be able to support Nigerian democracy in every way that we can to make our honest assessments. On the last occasion, we made a series of recommendations which were extremely well received and many of them implemented, and I want to really compliment you on the guiding the electoral reform and the Electoral Act itself over the last few years. It's been a really notable achievement, and it has ensured that the ground is prepared for what we all hope is a successful election.
While still on electoral matters, the chairman, Plateau State Council of Chief and Leading Traditional Rulers in the state, Jacob Gyang, has appealed to the women folk to advise their children and wards against being used by crafty politicians to cause electoral violence in the 2023 general elections. Jacob Gyang made the appeal when the wife of the People's Democratic Party, PDP presidential candidate Rukaya Atiku Abubakar and her campaign organization paid him a condolence visit at his palace in Jos. The report.
Princess Rukaya's visit to the palace of Bongom Jos follows the death of some Plateau State PDP supporters who were involved in a fatal accident after a rally in Pangshin. Bongom Jos used the occasion to call on the women to guide their children and ensure that politicians don't use them to perpetrate electoral vices.
The children that a lot of politicians are dragging into waywardness, into forgery, into drug addiction, they will remain with us. And tomorrow they will be the next batch of Boko Haram, bandits, and so on and so forth. We have this problem here in Nigeria, and I will appeal, you are the mothers of these children. And there are no better people to talk to the children than you, the women folk. And I pray that God grants the desires of the crowd here, and you become the first lady of Nigeria. We will charge you to take on the project to redeem our youth from the calamity.
The traditional ruler says he is happy that Atiku's wife cooks to visit shortly after the former vice president was in Jos for the same reason.
We want to appreciate your visit here on the same mission, because not just because they are PDP supporters, but because they are human beings created by God, just like all of us. So we sincerely appreciate you for coming to come to the not only their families, not only the PDP family, but Plateau State.
Earlier, Princess Rukaya Atiku Abubakar, while commiserating with the people of Plateau State, called the death of the supporters as an act of God. She prays for the repose of the souls of the victims. Also, the DG campaign of Praku in her remarks thanked the Bongom for a warm reception, as well as calling women in Plateau State to vote for the PDP in all elected offices.
Saboda sanin darajar fada shi yasa duk ƙasar da muka je, duk garin da muka je, za ta ce mu ta fada mu kai gaisuwa, mu kuma nemi albarka mai girma ƙasin da ke wannan. Babanmu mun zo ne mu samu albarkar wannan fada, a sa muna albarka ga wannan tafiya samu. Allah ya albarkace ta, kuma Allah ya ba mu nasara.
The Praco team, after a visit to the Bongom Palace, proceeded to other important functions for which they came to Plateau State.
Well, a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed the suits by a former presidential candidate of Hope Democratic Party, Ambrose Awaru, against the election of President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2019 presidential election. The suit was dismissed by Justice Yang Ekwo on 3 grounds. One of the grounds was that the suit constituted a gross abuse of court process, statute barred, and was an affront to the supremacy of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The judge also held that the suit was baseless and frivolous. Recall that the British-trained constitutional lawyer Ambrose Aruru, among other reliefs, asked the courts to determine the legality or otherwise of the decision by INEC in 2019, during which it postponed the election from February 16th to March 23. Well, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Bajabiamila, has described as unfortunate and sad the killing of 8 people by a container in the Ojuelegba area of Surulere, Lagos. Bajabiamila said he received the news of the falling of the 20-feet container on a commercial minibus, popularly known as Korope. The indignation was pained that innocent people lost their lives in such a manner. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Speaker, Lanre Lasisi, the Speaker lauded the quick effort of the officials of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASMA, FRSC, police and others in evacuating the victims and rescuing 1 person. He, however, called for immediate action and an investigation into the incidents. Now, the Oyo Police Command has arrested 3 suspects and 16 others for various crimes. Police spokesman in Oyo State, SP Adewale Osifeso, paraded the suspects before newsmen on Monday in Ibadan. Osifeso said that the suspected armed robbers and rapists accosted the lady who went to visit her friend on January 4th at a desolate spot at Alakia area of Ibadan. He said suspects who claimed to be community vigilantes disposed the lady of her mobile phone and whisked her to another desolate spot where she was held till about 1:25 a.m. on January 5th. The police spokesman added that they confessed to the crime upon interrogation, and a Dane gun which they used in the criminal act and the mobile phone belonging to the victim was recovered from them. Well, barely 48 hours to the initial deadline for the return of the redesigned notes, the CBN Governor Emefiele informed Nigerians on Sunday that the deadline has been extended to February the 10th. Our correspondent tells us more.
That millions of people have been unable to obtain replacements, endangering commercial activity and livelihoods weeks before the presidential elections. Nigeria's central bank has delayed the phase-out of outdated high-value banknotes for 10 days. The new deadline is now February the 10th instead of the former 31st January deadline. Mr. Emefiele spoke in direct Katsina State after a meeting with the president, who is in his home state for official duties.
Aside from those holding illicit and stolen naira in their homes for speculative purpose, we do aim to give all Nigerians that have naira legitimately earned and trapped the opportunity to deposit their legitimately trapped monies at the CBN for exchange. Based on the foregoing, we have sought and obtained Mr. President's approval for the following. 1. A 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities, after which all old notes outside the CBN loses their legal tender.
A week before this new development, the CBN governor told newsmen that there will be no going back on the previous deadline, January 31st, 2023.
He says reports suggest that many people want the deadline to be shifted for reasons ranging from their inability to gain access to the new notes or deposit their old currencies. I must say here that unfortunately I don't have good news for those who feel that we should shift the deadline. My apologies.
In order to combat counterfeiting and limit the usage of cash in Africa's largest economy, the central bank announced a redesign of 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes in October 2022. Politicians and ordinary individuals in the country, where the cash economy is still very active, have criticized the bank's handling of the initiative. As the deadline drew near, people claimed that although banks continued to print the old notes, companies, especially stores, were refusing to accept them.
It's for us to be able to take all our old notes to the bank so that anybody that wants to come and do any transaction with us here, it's either you're doing a transfer or you're doing a POS transaction with us for now. Because even the notes, it's only few we've been collecting. Most of the customers still come with a lot of the notes.
Many of the country's population live in rural areas with no access to banks where they can exchange the old notes. A cash swap scheme to help them do so via banking agents in their communities was announced a week before the initial deadline.
While you are still watching News Plus on Viewer Television, we'll be going on a quick break, and when we return, we'll bring to you news from the international scene. Do stay tuned.
Pararam pra reparar, estão ouvindo esse som, cruzando seco no ar, merece nossa atenção. Preparem bem os sensores para poder captar. Parem usinas, motores.
Welcome back. Now, a news on the foreign scene. Gunmen opened fire on a group of people celebrating a birthday at the weekend in a township in South Africa, killing 8 and wounding 3 others. The birthday celebrants was among those gunned down in the mass shooting in the southern port city of Gerbera, formerly Port Elizabeth. Police said the gunmen randomly shot at guests, added that 8 people died while 3 others are still fighting for their lives in hospital. However, Nomta Tele Mene, the provincial police chief of the Eastern Cape province, condemned the killings as a blatant disregard for human life. Still in South Africa, a South African judge presiding over Jacob Zuma's arms corruption trial recused himself on Monday in the latest twist in the years-long case. Judge Piers Cohen last year dismissed Zuma's bid to force out the prosecutor, Billy Downer, whom he accused of leaking confidential medical documents to the media. In December, the Constitutional Court backed Cohen's decision in concluding that Zuma's application to remove Downer had no reasonable prospects of success. The decision by the top court declared one of the last legal hurdles for the long-running trial to get underway. The situation has been further complicated, however, by a bid by Zuma to force Downer out through a private prosecution. Moving on to Pakistan, police officers were among at least 47 people were killed and 150 wounded in a blast at a mosque inside a highly sensitive Pakistan police headquarters on Monday, prompting the government to put the country on high alert. The attack happened during afternoon worship in the provincial capital of Peshawar, close to former tribal areas along the Afghan border, where militancy has been steadily rising. The frantic rescue mission was underway at the mosque, which had an entire wall and some of its roof blown out of the force of the blast. Blooded survivors emerged limping from the wreckage, while bodies were ferried away in ambulances as the rescue operation continued. And that's all on News Plus. Many thanks for watching. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. I am Jennifer Okolo.
In this 21st century where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source. Viewer TV is now on the go. Simply check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter for all the information you need.
Working in viewer television as a news anchor has been a wonderful experience, and it just continues to get better and better for me. It's a wonderful experience. All the team, we make sure that we come together